Newsradio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Mark Lawrence and Joe McGranaghan.
Greetings and welcome on board the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. It is entitled On the Mark. I am the aforementioned Mark Lawrence, subpar host of the show, registered Democrat, always interested in all sides of all topics and very interested in making sure that disparaging remarks are issued for those individuals who would be foolish enough to disagree with the host of the show. Good morning, everyone.
And as the one foolish enough to disagree with the host of the show most often, it's a pleasure to welcome you here and finally hear you admit what you actually are.
And you know, that is an untrue statement. I think Ben disagrees with literally everything I stand for.
Well, I don't disagree with everything you stand for.
Right, so that
I
qualifies
disagree
him.
with how you stand for it many times.
Right, and that's why you're an idiot, okay?
Thank you, and you're a moron. So
Thank
now
you.
that we've got that established, we can move ahead with the program. And I just told our guest we were going to be nice to him and polite, and you're calling
are
each other
gonna be
idiots.
nice to him.
Damn right, to each other.
Well,
It's another matter.
One of our listeners very wisely yesterday pointed out that I do make disparaging remarks about anybody with whom I disagree. So
I told you that the other day, and you didn't believe me.
I know. My lovely bride tells me, too. He says, why are you so mean to these politicians? I'm like, well, they get elected. I hold them to a higher standard. They're supposed to be behaving smart and use common sense, and that quieted the argument.
And we have a politician with us this morning. Well, somebody running for office, not necessarily a politician.
All right, well,
People don't like that word.
Let's do the quick turnaround tour of the studio. I'm Mark Lawrence, hosting today. I will be off the show tomorrow, where we go down and try to take care of the Good December River Festival that the vendors will be setting up tomorrow. On the other side of the glass is a man who knows what a torturous week I'm living. It is Kevin who put in his 5 to 10 years in a river festival helpful land, and he is the greatest engineer the world has ever known, and he is going to be running the show today and selecting appropriate bumper music. And on the other side of me, Mayor of Shamokin Dam, registered Republican, real free thinker, always interested in hearing all sides of issues, and he is Joe McGranaghan, a former COO of the Sunbury Broadcasting Corporation. He worked here for 50 years.
I did not work here for 50 years. I was in broadcasting for 50 years. I worked here for 30.
Okay, sorry.
You make me sound like I'm older than the furniture. I am older than the furniture.
Okay, I'm trying to be nice here. Okay. All righty. So, yes, Joe McGranaghan is here. Our webcam is up and running. If you'd like to see into the studio, if you'd like to watch us snipe at each other, please give us a check on WKOK.com, and you can watch the studio. It's a 24-hour archive right there at WKOK.com, or just click on the YouTube channel. Watch WKOK's YouTube channel. You see all our Ted Van Kirk tribute videos that are there, the plane flying over. We have a tribute to him, plus some excerpts of the funeral procession leaving the church. And there's also a video of Northumberland County cracking down on deadbeats who don't pay their fines. So that's on the YouTube, plus a 24-hour or an ongoing archive on the YouTube channel. The Sunbury Motor Company is our main sponsor. They are on North 4th Street in Sunbury and routes 11 and 15 Hummel's Wharf. And Hummel's Wharf, that's where you find the Kia. And boy, have they got Kias for you. They would just love to get you in a Kia Optima hybrid model. You get to realize something very few people in the country can do, and that's know what 40 miles per gallon is all about, and they can help you do that over at the Sunbury Motor Company Kia dealership. Click to them by going to sunburymotors.com. Lenape Solar email in basket is open. They'd like to give you the experience of enjoying a electric meter that spins backwards at your home. Just set up a photovoltaic system that uses the sun to generate electricity. You can sell it to PPL or Citizens or the local municipal electric company, and they would just love to have you helping be part of the solution. LenapeSolar.com is their main website. With that, we introduce a Harrisburg resident, attorney, and he is Andy Ostrowski. He is the Democratic candidate for the 11th District of the U.S. Congress, a district that stretches all the way from Hazleton to Harrisburg, and sort of a prolonged gerrymandered kind of thing. It was configured in such a way that Lou Barletta could cover a lot of Republican territory, and it worked. So you got your work cut out for you. Andy, welcome aboard.
Good morning, Mark. Thanks for having me.
I really do appreciate it. You're running for office. We'll start out with your elevator speech on why are you doing this?
Well, first of all, the district goes from northern Wyoming County the whole way down to Shippensburg, another 45 to 50 miles south of Harrisburg yet. And it's it's a heck of a lot of driving around to do, but I've been enjoying what I'm doing. I like the people in the district. It's an absolutely gorgeous, bucolic area of central Pennsylvania, which has been my home for my whole life. I was born and raised in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. I've been in the Harrisburg area, Dauphin County, since I went to law school. Graduated from Widener in Harrisburg in the first graduating class in 1992. And spent my background in, mostly in civil rights law. I started out with some bigger firms. I was on the big firm path and realized at some point that wasn't for me and that I needed to be out working with the individuals and trying to, help them on an individual basis get access to court. I wasn't so much into the corporate world and the insurance defense practice. And what really motivates me to run for this office is my experience through the courts. I have already talked about and am going to continue to talk about some issues that don't get talked about a lot in this system, and that is the quality of access to justice. We have a three-branch government, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Of course, I'm probably not telling anybody anything that they don't know, but this judicial branch of the government is run largely in secret. Not many people know very much about what goes on in the judicial branch of government, and it has an influence and control over aspects of our lives in ways we don't always understand. It's where the individual's relationships with its government, relationships with other people are regulated. And we have a problem with access to justice in this country, with fair access to justice in the area of individual constitutional rights. That's been my background is civil rights. I like to call it a constitutional law practitioner. That's what I've done for 20 years. I have an organization now called the Pennsylvania Civil Rights Law Network, which I developed and built up around these problems that I started experiencing with access to justice. And through that, I've worked with people from all over the political spectrum, from people from what we would call a sovereign citizens movement to the Occupy Wall Street movement to Democrats and Republicans and everything in between. And when it came to access to justice, we all had the same problem. And it's indicative of the problems that I'm hearing as I'm out on the campaign trail, that people just no longer feel that they have access to their government, that the government no longer works for them, it works for the special interest, it works for the moneyed class, and I'm a people person, and I want to bring government back to the people.
All right, it's going to be a tough road to hoe to unseat Lou Barletta, somebody who has enjoyed sort of notoriety because of the Hazleton immigration issue. Do a quick compare and contrast of what a Congressman Ostrowski would be like compared to what is Congressman Barletta.
Well, it's your proverbial apples and oranges, or two sides of the spectrum in every way. And I'm not talking about, traditional Republican Washington politics versus traditional Democrat Washington politics. I'm talking about different philosophies of life and the way the world should operate. Unfortunately, I've never met Lou Barletta personally. I'm participating in something called the Plymouth Kielbasa Festival this weekend up in Plymouth, Pennsylvania, Luzerne County, and hope that I'll get the opportunity to meet him there, and certainly we'll have nothing but respect for him and cordiality to offer to him. I'm not interested in playing any kind of games or gimmicky type of stuff. I'd like to do things on the facts, on the above board. But, I very much oppose the Republican politics in Washington, D.C., the lockstep, everybody walking in lockstep on the same message, and this do-nothing Congress where nobody gets outside the box and does things. And, this Lou Barletta, that policy that he had, I consider it to be demagoguery. It was a flawed and failed policy from the start. Anybody who knows constitutional law would have known that regulation, immigration reform, immigration policy, naturalization, as the Constitution calls it, is the exclusive province and prerogative of the United States Congress, and not mayors of local municipalities who have an influx of immigration and want to play into the issues of fear and insecurity on their population. I wouldn't do that. I would do it much differently. Mr. Barletta, for example, he got national notoriety and effectively won this office on that failed immigration policy that left the city of Hazleton holding $2.5 million in attorney's fees. That was not disclosed to that city. The residents of that city believed that they were not going to have to bear that bill.
$2.5 million attorney's fees?
$2.5 million in attorney's fees. Whoever was representing all the plaintiffs in that case, they didn't submit a fee bill, and there was a dispute between the insurance company, and the judge decided that the insurance company didn't have to pay, but the city had to pay. So they're holding that bill right now.
Well, you put out a publication on your website called "The Politics of Hate and Division Must End." And if I may quote a couple of things from it, you say, "Now, however, in the midst of this humanitarian crisis," and we're talking about the children on the border, "the words of Jesus, quote, 'Whoever welcomes a little child in my name welcomes me,' are forgotten, and the politics of hate turns children into job-stealing, disease-spreading, money-grubbing takers who need to be shipped back to where they came from with expedited processes and phony expressions of compassion." Lou Barletta and other Republican congressmen flocked to the House floor with proposals to cut off the rights of these little children and expedite their returns to their country of origin. There's no discussion of why these children are coming here in the first place, and what our role of our society and culture have in creating the conditions they are escaping, and no discussion of why, in the wake of free trade agreements and open markets, we're not exporting prosperity to our neighbors in the South. And one other place here you say they are using, and I assume you mean the Republicans, the Constitution to secure the trappings of oligarchy to themselves and their posterity, and they use the Bible to create hypocrites out of people who genuinely intend to live by it because they use demagoguery and fear as tools of deceit and manipulation. Again, the title of this is "The Politics of Hate and Division Must End." So my question is, when are you ending it? It seems to me this is hate and division.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, it's a very honest feeling about how I view that side of the aisle in these matters. And
but isn't there room here for us to disagree without being oligarchies and accusing these children of being money-grubbing takers? I mean, isn't it possible to have another opinion without being demonized?
That language and that hyperbole is a bit harsh, but it also very genuinely expresses how I feel about it. I'm listening to these debates about these issues, and I do. I mean, as you see, I quoted the Gospel of Mark there, and my background is, I was born and raised and brought up a Roman Catholic. I went to Catholic schooling. I've learned Christian principles. I've had them instilled in me my whole life. And when I'm hearing a humanitarian crisis and a refugee crisis, and your point is well taken, and I will take that into consideration. I don't pull any punches, and there's a difference between pulling punches, not pulling punches honestly, and trying to play in dishonestly to fears and insecurities of people. We are not, the Susquehanna River is not the Rio Grande River. We have a national immigration problem. There's no question about it. But we also have a Congress that has sat for years and years and years and done absolutely nothing. But all of a sudden, we have some children who are suffering coming across our borders, and they have sat and done nothing for years. This provokes a certain level of outrage in me personally, and I'm free to express it, and I expressed it exactly how I feel about it.
But in the 2 years, and I think someone pointed this out, in the 2 years when the Democrats, President Obama, and the House and Senate were both democratically controlled, they did nothing on the issue. They could have taken steps, they could have done something back then, but they didn't. I mean, I think this is a problem with everybody. It's not a Republican problem or a Democratic problem. It's a problem in Washington generally with the fact that we can't get things done because we are involved in the politics of division and hate. Everybody who disagrees with you has to be demonized. I don't mean you personally. I just mean philosophically you. So it's awfully hard for me to work with you if I'm calling you names.
Yeah. Well, I understand exactly what you're saying, and your point is very well taken. And I have to accept responsibility for what I said, and maybe be a little bit more diplomatic. But what has really motivated me to run for this office is the language of division, the Mitt Romney 47%ers type of hyperbole. That's just intolerable. I mean, these gaps need to be bridged, and I'm talking about this Heritage Foundation, Koch brother, Karl Rove funded demagoguery. These Republican think tanks that generate messaging that appeals to politicians that they then finance and give money to talk about issues so that they can get their corporate tax rates issues and business issues taken care of.
And is that
I view it as
similar-
being fundamentally dishonest. I really
similar
do,
to-
and unfair.
Is it similar to George Soros and his efforts for the left?
I haven't studied George Soros and his efforts for the left to any great degree, and maybe it is. Maybe it is. I'll have to look at that a little bit more.
We're going to take a quick break here. Andy Ostrowski was nice enough to join us today from the Harrisburg area, running for U.S. Congress in the 11th District, hopes to unseat Lou Barletta come the fall election. So we are going to take a quick break, but if you have a question for him, you are welcome to give us a call, 1-800-795-9565. That's 1-800-795-9565. Lenape Solar email inbasket is open. Email us at onthemark@WKOK.com, and we'll be right back after word from our main sponsor, the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Okay. New kid, here's your company phone. I've pre-programmed it with every number you need in life. The first one's my personal number. Never call it, ever. The second one is 1-800-GRANGER. Use it for everything else. Any problem you have, they can help. I've also loaded the Granger app for you. You can download it for free. Tippity-tap, on the spot. Your solution is on its way. Granger. Get it? Got it? Good. Call, click Granger.com, or stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Well, ring-a-ding-ding, the year was 1936, and Leo and Lillian Goodwin were hot to trot for the world to save some big bucks on automotive insurance. So they opened up a little joint called Geico. Geico had the goods for all the dolls and Joes who were keen on swell service and keeping the cabbage.
Flash forward over 75 years, and Geico is still helping customers save money every day, and with 97% customer satisfaction. Today, the peeps would refer to that as pretty darn tight.
Geico, saving people money for over 75 years.
Susquehanna Valley Country Club has announced their 2015 new member dues schedule. Enroll by August 31st and become a member immediately. All you need to pay monthly is your food and beverage minimum through this December. Your dues begin January 2015. Dues rates are as low as $25 per month for a social membership and $100 per month for golf memberships. Find out online how you can win a new driver, putter, or a $100 food certificate to their grill room at the end of the month. Be part of the new Susquehanna Valley Country Club. Visit golfsvcc.com or call 570-743-1714 for an appointment.
Another big day for television with the launch of the SEC network. Our options are greater than ever. We'll talk about what it's like for you, the fan, today. 3 to 5 News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Welcome back. You're on the mark, and we're having a lively discussion here with our guest, Andy Ostrowski, who is the Democratic candidate for Congress in the 10th District?
11th.
11th, I'm sorry, I got the districts mixed up. 11th District. And Mark Lawrence is our wonderful host with his wonderful beard and his pen in his hand, and he looks very intelligent over there, and I'm sure he has some questions for our guest. Oh, I'm sorry, what's wrong?
I have a monogram shirt on, too, also. My lovely bride got me a monogram shirt for my birthday.
Oh, you do? That's
actually
impressive.
wore it, so, yes, how about that? Okay, well, welcome aboard, everybody. I am Mark Lawrence, Kevin Her, the engineer. He is running the camera. He's done a perfect job zooming in on our guest, who is Andy Ostrowski, who lives in the Harrisburg area. Let's talk about some of these issues. We're focusing on these kids from Central America, where there's already existing U.S. policies in place to deal for them. There's almost no question marks about that topic. Let's talk about jobs. This is really a big issue. Of course, for folks who are gainfully employed, they're not thinking a lot about this, but what, 20%, 18 to 20% underemployment, the real unemployment rate around here? This is top of the mind. What are we going to do to create some jobs in the U.S.?
Well, I find it to be inexcusable that the president's jobs bill has not been acted on. I mean, we have an infrastructure problem in this country. Roads and bridges are deteriorating. And for no reason other than partisan, obstructionist, do-nothing politics, those real issues have not been acted upon. I've studied it to some degree. I'm not a complete expert in the legislation. You got to understand, I'm running an outsiders campaign. I am not a mainstream party supported, although my party's coming around and they're starting to be a little bit more supportive of me. But I don't come from a traditional political background. I come from a civil rights practice. So I don't have a team of researchers out there providing me research memos on everything. I think about things, I read things. And I have studied that issue on the jobs bill a little bit, and I do understand that, there is no net increase in the deficit to this jobs bill. Everything is bought and paid for. It puts people back to work immediately. It addresses a very serious and immediate long-term problem in this country, and that's infrastructure. I don't understand why something like that isn't being addressed.
It's not a deficit buster. It seems to me most of it's not paid for.
I understood, from the materials that I read that, it paid for itself effectively.
Right,
I mean, I'm sure there's some short-term, budgetary issues, but in the long term, I understand that it pays for itself.
Yeah. Eventually.
Yeah.
Okay, granted. What about the deficit? It is $15 trillion. That's already in existence.
I thought it was 17.
17. I'm sorry. I'm not. I don't read the paper.
A trillion here, a trillion there. Pretty soon it's going to run into money.
Your reaction?
Well, my reaction is that very seriously is a problem. Of course, it's a problem that's going to weigh on this country and generations to come. And there are some real structural problems that need to be addressed in that context. And the entire banking industry. It gets to another one of my core. I don't run on these policies the way they are. The policy wonks, as they call them, talk about them in terms of the bills that are passed back and forth. I look at the more structural, fundamental issues to these things, and this banking industry and what they've done to this country. When they got their $700 billion in bailouts, and they've escaped prosecutions. And I will be very critical of our Attorney General Eric Holder. I don't believe that he's done an adequate job to rein in these excesses. We just had, I guess, one of the big banks, and I'm sorry I don't have notes on me. Maybe Wells Fargo or something, just a $15 billion fine or something like that. My understanding of that is a lot of that is they're able to pay through tax write-offs. So they have not provided proper incentives through criminal prosecutions of people who are responsible for that, creating the banking mess that we had in this country. As long as those things remain unchecked, I'm a big fan of Elizabeth Warren and her Consumer Protection Financial Bureau, and that seems to be reining in excesses in the mortgage industry, the abuse of mortgage practices and foreclosure processes, things of that nature. So in terms of deficit, we need to address some structural issues, and it's just not a matter of cutting off food stamp benefits or limiting welfare and demagoguing that issue that way. It's a matter to getting to the core structural reasons why these things exist.
What about the U.S. Supreme Court now granting personhood to corporations and really the Hobby Lobby Conestoga Wood Products decision? These
kinds of decisions absolutely get to the very core of what my position, why I'm running on these issues. This way that we have elevated the corporation. People don't understand that corporations are creatures of government, effectively. They depend on government. They were created by government laws, and they are subservient to government and the people. We have elevated them and given them a status that is not proper under the Constitution. It's not proper under the law. This also gets to the issue of how the courts relate to all this. These corporate powers were slowly expanded over the years, effectively, since Reconstruction after the Civil War, when bar associations were created and the people with money paid the lawyers to go into court and argue their cases, and judges came from the lawyers, and it turned into a system where these powers were expanded: corporate personhood, perpetual duration, limited liability on corporations. It's created a grossly unfair playing field, And I think that we live in a it's almost like a corporate socialist state. The corporations run the world; they get what they want, and that needs to be reeled in.
We make it sound like all business is bad.
Well, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But there is a very serious distinction between true free enterprise and this corporatism that runs the world. No, absolutely not. And that's the problem, Joe. That's the problem that needs to be gotten to, and people need to get over that hurdle. I'm not talking at all about business being bad. I am a proponent and an advocate of free enterprise, and in fact, I'm probably more conservative than many Republicans on a lot of these core constitutional issues. But there is a vast, vast difference between this corporate culture and true free enterprise, where people are out there putting themselves and their families and their homes on the line to make it go and to make the system go, to make the country work.
Well, I'm interested in your position then. If you are not a typical tax and spend Democrat, as they've been called, I always say the Democrats are tax and spend, the Republicans are borrow and spend. But I mean, in this case, how would you solve these problems? Would you rely more on free enterprise, or would you believe the government plays a bigger role than free enterprise in solving some of our problems?
Now, we've got to get back to true free enterprise. We've got to get back to true free enterprise without government interference. Corporations depend on government for their existence. Every corporate, every McDonald's, every Walmart, every big corporation out there has the government to thank for their existence. And I know that that does not sit with people, and that takes a little bit of adjustment to get to. But stick with me on these issues, and these are the things that we're going to talk about, and this is how we're going to educate and lead people instead of demagoguing and playing to fears and insecurities.
Yeah, we've got 10 seconds left. One of our listeners sends a note, says, has Mr. O forgotten the $800 billion stimulus bill that did not stimulate anything? It was geared for infrastructure also. A do-nothing Congress, they could do a lot more, like stop funding this president's wild spending programs. We'll start out with the stimulus package. Did it stimulate anything?
It allowed the government or allowed the banks to rebuild their infrastructure.
Okay. All right.
Well,
thank you so much. Very much appreciated.
Thanks for coming.
Folks can get more information about you where?
Ostrowskiforcongress.com.
All right.
Thank you very much.
That's spelled O-S-T-R-O-W-S-K-I.
Thanks a lot, guys. It was good to be here today.
You're on
Thank
Facebook, too, so very much appreciated. Coming up, open phones, and we'll have Kymberly Best, Sunbury attorney, on our program today as lawyers cycle through On the Mark. This is WKOK Sunbury.
CBS News, I'm Frank Sedapani. The fourth night of unrest in Ferguson, Missouri may have been the most volatile one so far.
Tear gas on one side, Molotov cocktails tossed on the other. No sign this is going to let up anytime soon.
CBS's Mark Strassman tells us people living in Ferguson are tired of the turmoil.
Every night there are people out on the streets. Police are out there, protesters are out there, and the volatility of all this is what is truly alarming to people who live in the community. They are also just cowering in their homes, hoping that the violence on the outside doesn't come inside where they live.
The trouble erupted after fatal police shooting of an unarmed 18-year-old. Governor Jay Nixon's canceling planned events at the Missouri State Fair to return to Ferguson. The start of the new school year has been postponed until next week. Unemployment lines grew a bit longer last week, but even with the increase, the number of workers filing new claims for benefits is close to pre-recession levels. 311,000 workers filed applications, up 21,000 from the week before.
311,000 is still consistent with very strong job growth.
Economist Tim Quinlan. The Pentagon believes it may not be necessary to rescue Yazidi refugees from a barren mountaintop in northern Iraq. CBS News correspondent David Martin.
A small team of Green Berets and aid workers got a first-hand look at conditions on the ground and found there were far fewer refugees than feared.
And conditions on Mount Sinjar aren't as bad as feared. The Yazidi took refuge on the mountain to escape the onslaught by ISIS terrorists. Uncle Sam says no to some people whose homes went up in smoke. Live to CBS News correspondent Heather Bosch.
A 300,000-acre wildfire in Washington state destroyed 300 homes, killed cattle, and burned farmland. But FEMA says the losses aren't severe enough to warrant federal aid, grants and loans that would have helped individuals rebuild. That has many in the state questioning what FEMA considers a disaster. The state plans to appeal. FEMA says it will be giving local government and tribal agencies money to fix bridges and roads.
Police in northern New York State have issued an Amber Alert for two Amish girls who may have been abducted from their family's roadside stand. 12-year-old Fannie Miller and her 6-year-old sister Delia were last seen waiting on a customer in Osawaji, New York last evening. The husband of an American missionary who contracted the Ebola virus in Liberia is upbeat about her recovery. Speaking to CBS This Morning via Skype, David Wrightball said his wife Nancy is making steady progress at Emory University Hospital in Atlanta.
She keeps telling me that she's doing better bit by bit. She's sounding stronger.
The Major League team owners begin meeting today to pick a successor to retiring Commissioner Bud Selig. Selig's right-hand man, Rob Manfred, is considered the favorite to land the job. MLB executive Tim Brosnan and Boston Red Sox owner Tom Werner are also in the running. S&P futures are down a point just ahead of the opening on Wall Street. This is CBS News.
Today is the day you switch to Rite Aid for one simple reason: Wellness Plus, the card that gives you credits you can use like cash, plus discounts that only members get, plus 20% off almost the entire store, plus that's for a whole year, plus rewards that start today and pile on every time you shop. So if you're tired of missing out on all the pluses only Rite Aid delivers, visit RiteAidWellness.com to sign up and learn more today about Wellness Plus. Rite Aid. With us, it's personal.
It's not just an oil change. It's a principle. You take care of what you own. That deserves respect and a good deal. At Advance Auto Parts, get 5 quarts of Pennzoil's new Platinum Full Synthetic Motor Oil with Pure Plus technology and a Fram Ultra Oil Filter for $33.99. Plus, get a $10 advance gift card by mail so you can get things done the way you want. Advance Auto Parts. Let's get you back to the garage.
Mail-in rebate, void where prohibited. See store for details.
Drugs that don't cost much but could help a woman avoid a second bout with breast cancer are in almost every bathroom medicine chest. CBS News correspondent Barry Bagnatto has the latest from the Health Watch.
In overweight and obese women, middle-aged and older, common over-the-counter anti-inflammatory pain relievers such as aspirin and ibuprofen can sharply reduce or delay recurrence of the most common form of breast cancer. The finding of a study led by University of Texas researcher Linda DeGraffenreid.
They suppress many of the negative effects of obesity.
This study in the journal Cancer Research. Barry Bagnatto, CBS News, Washington.
The Food and Drug Administration has approved a new Merck drug to treat insomnia. It works by blocking brain chemicals that control the sleep cycle, but it can lead to drowsiness the morning after and some other side effects. A Career Builder report says high school graduates can find 115 jobs that pay $20 an hour or more. Some pay as much as $40. Frank Sedapani, CBS News.
They say every healthy relationship should have a balance of predictability and spontaneity. In fact, it is that assurance of security that makes the spontaneous possible. Your relationship with your car should be a little like that too. With our new industry-leading unlimited mileage warranty, your certified pre-owned Mercedes-Benz instills a sense of confidence. You drive away knowing that you can keep driving for up to 3 years and never have to worry about the miles. To that, our new complimentary prepaid maintenance on select models, and your certified pre-owned Mercedes-Benz becomes the ultimate carefree escape vehicle. Only during the Mercedes-Benz Certified Pre-Owned Sales event, going on now through September 2nd, can you also take advantage of a 2-month payment credit on many models, plus 3 months of Sirius XM satellite radio. So hurry in today. It might just be the most predictable, spur-of-the-moment decision you've ever made.
See your authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer for complete details and limitations on certified pre-owned warranties.
Newsradio 1070 WKOK presents On the Mark. It's a chance to voice your opinion on the events that affect life in the Susquehanna Valley. Call 1-800-795-9565 or email onthemark@wkok.com. Now, here are your hosts for On the Mark, Mark Lawrence and Joe McGranaghan.
Greetings and welcome back to the WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. It is entitled On the Mark. I am Mark Lawrence. Very glad to be here today. Other side of the glass, Kevin Hurd, the engineer. Joe McGranaghan is our co-host. Webcam is up and running. We invite you to enjoy the HD image and the wonderful graphics and the zoom in that happens occasionally with Kevin Hurd at the controls of the webcam. It's a 24-hour archive right at WKOK.com, or click on the YouTube channel and you can watch On the Mark anytime you wish after the show has ended. it. Lenape Solar email in basket open. You simply email on the mark at WKOK.com, and we'll read your email on the radio. Lenape would love to hook you up with the sun. The way that they do that is with solar voltaic systems that generate electricity, or solar thermal systems that generate heat. You can use that heat to the best of your ability. Maybe run something supplemental on your house, something luxurious, thinking spa or hot tub or domestic hot water, or just to use it to help heat your home in the winter. Lenape Solar will come up with the best way for you to harness the power of the sun for a brighter tomorrow. LenapeSolar.com, their website. SunburyMotors.com. If you need a new vehicle, perhaps your vehicle has been sabotaged, you can just go to the Sunbury Motor Company and tell them that they have a Ford for you somewhere on that lot. They also sell Hyundai. They have the brand new Hyundai that is the Walking Dead model. So if you are interested...
What's it come with, a zombie in the trunk?
It does, as a matter of fact. That's funny you would mention that. And the Kia and Lincoln cars are there too. They're a premier service provider for all makes of cars and trucks. SunburyMotors.com. They'll have the Walking Dead Hyundai at the River Festival starting tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. While the vendors are setting up, they'll be there. There'll be some zombies. And then tomorrow night, there'll be some zombies at the... Well, I guess they're not... Is zombie the right word? Is that what
the undead? Is that what you're talking about?
Right. The Walking Dead will be there, although no one will be blasting at them and clubbing them and killing them.
Will they be eating people?
Once and for all. Well, I guess that's what they do. So
that was my understanding.
But don't worry, there's a people vendor there, so he sells.
That's good.
Right, so that they won't be eating just the visitors to the River Festival. On that upbeat and bright, are you okay?
Hi.
Kymberly Best is here. I make light of something that's just plain so serious in her life. I guess that's a poor form, but she is from Sunbury, is an attorney, lives in Sunbury now. Best Attorney is the firm from which her hard work in the law field emanates. She's a Democratic candidate for Northumberland County Commissioner, former Northumberland County Chief Clerk, and most recently in the news, really just the scariest thing. And the more people like to worry, the more scary it is. Her vehicle was sabotaged from underneath. Somebody loosened some bolts on the drive shaft, and hopefully just to scare you, but honestly, this, for somebody like you who likes to worry, this isn't the kind of thing you want to have happen. Tell us what has happened since then, and
you sound like my husband. I like to worry. I don't like to worry.
No, you don't like to. It just comes natural, or?
I think so.
Okay.
Unfortunately. Well, my bolts weren't loosened. They were removed. And what's scary about that is that to remove the bolts on the drive shaft, my understanding is, I'm not a mechanic, but the way it was explained to me, it was more of a sophisticated attack, if you will, because if you just remove them, obviously I'd come out in my driveway and there it would be. What is believed to have happened is that they were completely removed, and then some sort of adhesive or automotive glue was used to hold it together temporarily so that I would be on the road when this happened. Fortunately, while I was on the road, I was sitting at a red light and I wasn't going that fast.
Okay. Do you believe this was politically motivated?
Absolutely.
So you're not saying who, but you do believe it had to do with politics?
It has to do with politics, yes.
Well, I've often said Northumberland County politics is a body contact sport. This seems to be crossing the line, however. You've talked to the police about it, and they are investigating, and they have no clues, or you have no clue who did it. There were no fingerprints or anything like that they could tell who might have been involved?
I made a report to the Sunbury Police Department, and they've referred it to the state police. I've spoken with the state police, and they will perform a fingerprint analysis on it, but let's keep in mind that, when it happened, originally my mind went directly to that my car was sabotaged, but we didn't originally act on that. So mechanics and the tow man and everybody has had their hands under the car, so to speak. So, what's going to be there as far as evidence is probably little to nothing.
Have you been threatened before?
I've had one threatening email that I do not believe is related. It was a family member, a former family member of Miss Hope Lewis, who we are representing in our office for the death of her husband at the Northumberland County Prison, the suicide. And I have received one Facebook, negative Facebook, where someone doesn't use a name. They ask for you to friend them. You click yes, accept, and then they say something nasty, and then I delete it immediately.
Do you accept every friend request you
I
get?
do,
you?
because,
Okay.
well, the purpose of my Facebook is not, I don't use it for my personal self, other than it was started when I ran my campaign, for magisterial district judge, and briefly took it down. And then when I decided that I was going to run for commissioner, I started it back up. I have 3 pages that I run. I have my personal one, so that people, and I keep them separate for a very good reason. If people want to, get to know me on a personal level, they can visit my personal page. If you're interested in best law offices, I have best law offices page, and then I coordinate Take Back the County 2015 page. So I have those 3 ways that you can get to know me, and I try to keep them separate and discreet on their issues, topics, and information.
Let me ask you a loaded question. Now, you're running for county commissioner. If you had to align yourself, you were the 3rd commissioner, or you could get rid of 1 commissioner and align yourself with one other one down there, who would you align yourself with now, today?
I got to tell you, I don't like the word align.
Okay. Who are you most sympathetic to in terms of their philosophy?
None of them.
Okay.
None of them. And I'll tell you why. Because the problem that we have in Northumberland County, in particular with the Commissioners Board, is this constant throw a punch, take a punch. It's act, react. And the problem with that is that there may be an issue that they need to discuss. And because they are so heated and so embattled and embroiled with each other, that they won't look at any issue objectively, or they can't, or it's clouded because this battle continues. So align, no. I want to be very careful about the vocabulary that I use. However, if I were there and I were on the board, I would listen to each and every one of them and try to filter out my personal feelings for all of them. Perfect example is the Northumberland County Prison. If you've read my position, or you've heard of my position, certainly I called into WKOK. My position in it aligns more with Commissioner Clausy and against Commissioner Schock. Now, does that mean I'm aligned with Commissioner Clausy? Absolutely not. Does it mean I'm against Commissioner Schock? Absolutely not. Would I have a dialogue with both of them and the warded included to try to get to the bottom of what we should do and make, intelligent decisions? That's what needs to be done, and take alignment right out of it.
If any of them survive the next election, is there any hope that Northumberland County government can work collaboratively to produce a good result? I mean, are they just so entrenched in their fighting that they'll just pick fights with whoever winds up there?
It's going to depend on the dynamic and who the 3rd person will be. Who each of the 3 will be. You can't assume that the ones that are sitting there that will return. It really depends on a dynamic. If you have somebody such as myself that has this very strong opinion about putting the gauntlet down and getting to work, then perhaps so. If you have someone else that is politically aligned with their party because they have a larger agenda moving on past the commissioner's office, or if you have people that are just personality aligned, then you're going to find the same thing continuing.
Would the county be better off if none of the current 3 commissioners were there at the start of after the next election?
I can't answer that question, because I think if you would change the dynamic by just one person on that board right now, you'd have a different board.
All right, so if Stephen Bridey were re-elected and or Rick Schock were re-elected, plus you're going to have another wild card there. Vinnie Clausy says he's not running. This whole county is already in a life-changing mode when that would happen.
It really is. What people need to know is that Northumberland County, the whole face of it, politically, and your leaders are going to change drastically. What you're going to have on the ballot for 2015 and then taking office in January of 2016 are 1 to 2 judgeships opening. District Attorney's Office, Sheriff's Office, Treasurer's Office, and 3 commissioners. That will completely change, the whole objectives and how people view Northumberland County, I hope.
Would you think the word controversial would be aptly applied to you and your political career?
That's fair, yes.
Okay. What can you bring to the office considering that background or that reputation?
Well, it's that reputation that speaks for itself. It says to people that while I'm controversial, I got that way because I call it as I see it. I stand up for what I believe in. If possible or if necessary, and you have to take court action, lawsuits, I will do it. I do not back down. You can come after me. You can sabotage my car. You can send me hate mail, and I am still going to do what I believe is right for this county. And I think while it's controversial, if you get to know me, you're going to find the basis for that being something very respectable. I will not back down. I'm very determined. I want to change this county. I live here. I have always lived here. My children live here. My friends and my family and my colleagues live and work here. And we have such an opportunity in 2015 to make a tremendous difference.
Yeah, tell me about this hope. Whenever we kind of get above the fray and talk about Northumberland County in 2016, your eyes light up and you start to see that really almost a sense of relief. Tell me about the 2016 and beyond.
You know, after this car incident, I'm gonna be honest with all of you. My resolve was tested, and this entire week, including last night and up until this morning, my resolve was tested. I'm going to be very honest with you, and what pushes me forward is that when I begin to discuss what can be in this county, I get very excited. It's passion. It's passionate. It's not a good business decision for me to run for commissioner. It's not even a good family decision, if you will. I'm a mother of 7 children. I have 4 of my own and 3 bonus children. And, you know, I love each and every one of my children, and I am very upset at the fact that that was the car I drive my children around in. In fact, my children were in the vehicle when that happened. But what drives me is, number 1, people are counting on me. Number 2, my children are watching. Right now, in fact. Hi, Joey.
And I thought you were talking to me for a minute.
Joseph, my son. But what I believe is that this county is historic. Its workforce is large. The hearts of people are tremendous. And they're willing to work and work together if they have the right leadership. And when you have that recipe, great things are possible.
Well, you're running as a Democrat, and the Democratic Party in Northumberland County has to be fractured to some degree because of the pulling, if you will, with Mr. Commissioner Clausey, you on another side. You know, is it going to be possible for the Democrats to win if they don't come together?
I agree with you when you say that the Northumberland County Democratic Party is fractured. I am the solicitor for the Northumberland County Democratic Party, and we are seeing that people have chose sides, and they're not coming to meetings, they're not supportive, they're not working together. You very much do see that, and that's just another product of, you know, what has been going on, and it's sad. So I think what is necessary is that somebody rises above that, and in fact rises above the party, rises above being a Democrat, and just says, I'm a Northumberland County citizen. Please believe in my leadership, believe in my vision, follow me, vote for me, let's get to work. I have 3 goals and challenges that I want to do and hit the ground running with that I just believe in. And the reason that I can't turn away is because once you see something, Joe, you don't unsee it. Once you're in it and you're involved up to here with Northumberland County, it's very difficult to walk away from it, and I have tried. I know it can be better.
Well, let's face it, you and Commissioner Clausey have had a checkered relationship?
Yes.
A difficult relationship, let's put it that way. So you're the Democratic nominee. Do you think he would support you, or do you think he would try to sabotage your campaign?
I don't know, nor do I care.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Why don't you care?
Because my campaign isn't based on that type of political connection. And the other reason I don't care is because if it were, you sometimes have to make promises and take positions that you shouldn't, that aren't what's right or what's in the best interest of Northumberland County. So that's why I don't care. And you know, you just can't, you have to rely on yourself at times like this. You cannot rely on others, and certainly not people that get involved in power plays. Yeah.
You're listening to On the Mark. We're going to take a quick break. If you have a question or an observation for Northumberland County Commissioner candidate Kymberly Best, she's with us, Sunbury attorney. She's a Democrat and is running for office. The full campaigning will be next year, and then the election is in the fall of next year. And then in 2016, in January of 2016, 3 new Northumberland County commissioners will have the chance to be sworn in, or there could be an incumbent reelected in that whole process. So we'll continue to follow that. If you have a question information. 1-800-795-9565. That's 1-800-795-9565. Lenape Solar email in basket is open. Simply email on the mark at WKOK.com. And our main sponsor is the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, gotta go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
This is Justin Charles from Lenape Solar. Did you know we use exclusive manufacturing partners? Our solar modules are made with American components in an American factory by an American company in Milwaukee. Our lighting fixtures are made less than 3 hours away in Philadelphia. Even our fluorescent lamps are made here in the U.S., as are our solar racking systems. We're dedicated not just to quality, but our local economy. Find out more by calling 286-1496, online at lenapesolar.com, or drop by our showroom at 140 South 2nd Street, Sunbury, and see these products in person.
Ready to gear up and go? That's the sound of a Kubota Standard L compact tractor. Now rolling off the line from our plant in Georgia. Maybe it's your future tractor, your powerful Kubota diesel engine, your standard power steering, your pride and joy. It's a great time to make it yours with low-rate, long-term financing available now. Kubota Standard L compact tractors, built for the best things in life. Gear up and go at Kubota.com to find a dealer near you.
In 50 feet, turn left. Why are you driving so slowly?
After a few drinks, I'm taking it slow.
Well, you're not fooling the cop behind you.
What?
Get ready to pay in 0.1 miles.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
News Radio 1070 WKOK, your home for CBS and NBC News.
Government says retail sales last month were flat. Economist Michael Brown says.
Bill Karen says Iceland, New York got drenched, 13 inches of rain.
A lot of the water.
And award-winning local news.
Crash happened around 1:45 p.m. near Old Country Club Road. Her vehicle reportedly went off the road and hit a
It's
tree.
news and information on air, online, and on your mobile device with News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Welcome back to WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. I'm Mark Lawrence. Kymberly Best is here. Joe McGranaghan, the co-host. Kevin Hurd, the engineer. The open line, 1-800-795-9565. And our email in basket is open at onthemark@WKOK.com. And next year, you'll do a lot more campaigning. We'll get a chance to talk more about this. You said you have 3 goals if elected. What are they?
Yes, and then they're also Northumberland County's top challenges, in my opinion. The first is to rebuild Northumberland County image, from internal morale to external decorum. It needs to be fixed. And you do that by strengthening relationships with your employees, tackling the tough issues such as the union issues and disputes, and just basic respect for each and every one of those employees. And second, you do that by reaching out to the community. You be active in the community, and you don't turn away partnerships and rapports with other commissioners. You know, we neighbor so many other counties and local nonprofit organizations and people that want to give to the community. You know, you don't alienate them. You work with them and see to the best extent possible can you help them. And of course, local businesses. If there's any incentives out there, they should know about it. You should advertise for them. I've often thought that Northumberland County should put out sort of a quarterly newspaper or something like that to let people know what local businesses are, where they are, what they're about, and help them out. Because local businesses, when they're starting out, I know for myself, advertising is extremely expensive. But if you're a county, there's money for that. The second thing is the prison. The prison needs an overhaul. It needs to be evaluated. There needs to be an action plan, and that action plan needs to be proactive rather than reactive. Stop waiting for the problems. Look at them. The signs are all around. It needs to be addressed. And the third is to keep taxes low and generate revenue. For all the disputes and the entanglements that the commissioners are involved in, whacking salaries and hurting the elected officials' pensions and their benefits, what are they doing to create revenue? When do we ever hear that they're out there promoting industry, bringing them in, touring our county, at our closed factories, looking at our workforce? What are they doing to promote revenue? I can't think of a single thing in the last 8 years that was sort of a campaign to promote revenue in this county. In fact, in 2010, the census dropped such that we were reclassified to a 6th-class county. That means a lot of things internally for the amount of money and bonds and loans and things that you can apply for. But what that means is people are moving out. They're not moving in. They're not investing. And there's very good reason for that. So we need to do that. And the reason I say lower taxes, and you think, what, you're a Democrat. A Democrat is not blind to the fact of the population is made up by financially burdened people. You have people out of work, you have elderly, and you have military, both that have committed service and returned from service. Those three populations make up the majority of the 94,000 people in Northumberland County. They're financially burdened already. So they need to keep more money in their pockets. We need to find the money by generating revenue, which should be one of the top priorities for commissioners.
You should do very well. You are registered a Democrat, but you talk like a Republican.
I have my parents to thank for that.
Generation. We really just have one more question, and then we'll have to get a closing remark. When you were a chief clerk in Northumberland County, what's your track record? How did you help the county accomplish some of the kinds of things you're talking about?
So exciting. All right. I didn't have that position for very long. I started as the first female assistant solicitor for the county. I was promoted after about 4 months because I brought in $250,000 revenue, not only to the county, but to the city of Sunbury. How did I do that? Celotex. Flew out to Chicago and brought money back. I was involved in initiatives that I'd like to see come back online, creating a county GIS department that makes money. And it's sort of complicated and technical, and I can explain that later on in my campaign. But I'd also like to see the initiative for a community college come back online. There were initiatives. They wanted the commissioner's support. The commissioners did not want to do that for some political reasons. And I'd like to see that because I think it could change the face of the city of Sunbury and Northumberland County.
All right, we do have a caller on the line. Good morning. You are on the mark.
Morning. I am impressed from what I've heard so far. And I'm an independent voter, and I'm being persuaded to think about casting my vote for this commissioner proposed to be. The problem that I have is that are you ever wrong, and are you ever willing to admit that you have been wrong and recourse?
Oh, sir, I'm wrong. I'm wrong at least once a day in some way. Absolutely. And, we were discussing before we came back from the break that I'm still very much in the training program. I don't consider myself to be a professional politician, although admittedly I am a politician.
All right, the headstrong, egotistical politician is unwilling to ever back down and recourse. And I am impressed with what I've heard. Optimism, okay. And I like where your heart is concerning the county and bringing up front being able to discuss the reality of the situation where the county is and letting people know transparency is everything, and we really do need a change. We really, really need a change, and I hope you're part of it.
Thank you, sir, so much.
Thank you very much, Frank. An additional comment. You have an open mic. You can continue to speak optimistically about a bright future around here.
I want people to believe. I want people to believe not in me, but in the vision that I stand for. I don't want them to give up. I know they feel alienated. We have 11 boroughs, 23 townships, and some of them on the fringes just feel that they make more of a connection. It would make more sense for them to branch off and go with Lycoming County or Montour County. And I'm inviting you to get back involved in these politics. We need you. We need those independent voters. There's about 5,000 of them out there that are some affiliated with some other party other than the Republicans and the Democrats. And I want to talk to the Republicans. Please don't dismiss me, because this is beyond politics. This is beyond party politics, and one Democrat does have to make it in. So I'd like to be that Democrat. I can work with you, and I understand your goals as well.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot for coming in.
Yep.
Please keep in touch. Kymberly Best, best attorney in Sunbury. The Best Attorney LLC is she's the best attorney in Sunbury. There's no argument there. Sunbury resident, Democratic candidate for Northumberland County Commissioner. Show full campaigning next year in the election, next fall, not coming up in this November's election. You're listening to News Radio 1070 WKOK. We flip to open phones momentarily here on WKOK.
Now is the time to go to your Kubota dealer and get a brand new Kubota M-Series tractor during Kubota's Gear Up and Go sales event. If you're thinking about a rugged utility tractor and the year-round comfort of a Grand X cab, then a new Kubota has your name on it. With a smooth-running diesel engine and IntelliShift transmission, your Kubota dealer is the place to start. Right now, get your own Kubota M-Series tractor for 0 down and 0% financing for up to 60 months. So for a great deal, think orange at the Kubota Gear Up and Go sales event. For more information or to find a participating dealer, go to Kubota.com.
0 down, 0% APR financing for terms up to 60 months on selected equipment now through September 30th, 2014. Not available for rental national accounts or government customers. 0% APR low rate financing not available with instant rebate offers. Financing available through Kubota Credit Corporation USA subject to credit approval. Other exceptions may apply. For more information, call toll-free 1-888-465-8268.
We live in an era of innovation, so we remade the Chrysler 200 from the factory floor up. We've transformed the science of shifting with a class-exclusive 9-speed transmission. We created a rotary E-shifter with craftsmanship you'll feel each time you twist it into gear. And we modernized fuel economy with 36 mpg highway. It's the American sedan people didn't think was possible. We made this, the all-new 2015 Chrysler 200, America's import.
Things have changed. Well-qualified current lessees of competitive vehicles get a low-mileage lease on the 2015 Chrysler 200 Limited for $179 a month for 36 months with $19.99 due at signing. Tax, title, and license extra. Based on Chrysler Group LLC standard midsize sedan segment. EPA estimated MPG with 2.4-liter engine. Call 1-888-CHRYSLER for details. Requires dealer contribution and lease through Ally Financial. Excludes all of the Chrysler Group LLC vehicles. 20-cent charge for each mile over 30,000. Residency restrictions apply. Take delivery by 9/2.
Home equity loan sales are springing up everywhere. At Mifflinburg Bank and Trust, our home equity loans offer low interest rates with the added value of personal customer care. We're the community bank focused on building lifetime relationships by providing you with valuable products and convenient, friendly services. At Mifflinburg Bank, our home equity loan sale is just one of the many ways we can add that personal touch you're looking for. Mifflinburg Bank and Trust, your community's trusted financial resource with offices located in Mifflinburg, Lewisburg, New Berlin, Millheim, and Shamokin Dam. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Life includes many financial milestones. Education, homeownership, and retirement are just a few. Managing your money wisely is crucial to meeting your day-to-day responsibilities and fulfilling your lifetime goals. I'm Betsy Guffey of Milestone Investment Services. Establishing a financial plan is essential for your financial well-being. Let me help you personalize a plan to serve as a guide for the next step in your journey. Milestone Investment Services and Mifflinburg Bank and Trust, one stop for all your financial needs.
Another big day for television with the launch of the SEC network. Our options are greater than ever. We'll talk about what it's like for you, the fan, today, 3 to 5 News Radio 1070 WKOK.
All righty, Kymberly Best, Sunbury attorney. You can look it up on Facebook. Fix Northumberland County, as Kevin would say. Fix it. Hopefully we can do that in the years ahead with some new commissioners in Northumberland County. You are listening to On the Mark, WKOK Live Telephone Talk Show. Subpar host of the show, that would be me, Mark Lawrence. Other side of the glass, just the opposite on the spectrum of competency, is Kevin Herr, the greatest engineer the world has ever known, selector of highly appropriate bumper music and operator of the webcam. Sunbury Motor Company, our main sponsor. Lenape Solar sponsors the email in basket. The open phone line is 1-800-795-9565. That's 795-9565. You can email us at the Lenape Solar email in basket at onthemark@WKOK.com. We'd very much love to read an email from you on the phones. Joe McGranaghan, co-host, mayor of Shamokin Dam, has a stack of papers in front of him. What do you have on your papers, sir? Yes.
I'm waiting for you to say
Go.
start. You told me
Go.
to say don't start till I say start.
Well,
I'm
wanted to
following
do
my
it.
instructions.
Oh, my God.
Well, you know, on Tuesday we had that discussion about...
Kevin, make him stop.
Oh, now I got to stop. We had that discussion about foreign language and the necessity for people to learn to speak English. And Mr. Mitchell, who often sits at home writing emails to the program, challenged me, where are my facts? Well, I had read these facts, and I didn't have them at my fingertips. And his opinion is, of course, that all these people are trying to learn as fast as they can. Well, apparently the federal government and the Census Bureau doesn't agree with him. According to a new report from the Census Bureau, some 60.6 million people, nearly 1 in 5, age 5 or older, speak a language other than English. And now the latest numbers are from 2011, up from 23 million in 1980. So we've gone to 60.6 million people, or from 23 million to 60.6 million people who don't speak English as their primary language or at all in their homes. The number rose by an incredible 158% over 3 decades. The population only grew at 38%. So right there, that refutes his argument that they're trying to learn as fast as they can. The population of those people has grown to 38%, but 158% of those not speaking English.
But that doesn't say anything about that. All it says is what they are.
Well, let me finish.
Where they are. It doesn't say where they're going.
Those speaking a language other than English at home, 7%, said they spoke English not at all, including 9.7% of Chinese speakers, 9% of Spanish speakers, and another 15.4% of those who speak another language at home said they spoke English not well. Among those who speak a language other than English at home, nearly 2/3, 37.6 million people, speak Spanish, up from 11 million in 1980. So, I mean, the number of people who don't speak Spanish has grown, but the population hasn't grown that much, which implies that most of those people who have come have not bothered to learn to speak English. They're inflating the population numbers by 38%, but they're inflating the percentage of people who don't speak English by a greater percentage.
All right, and the bottom line is?
Well, the bottom line is that what I said before, people need to learn to speak English. I'm in favor of spending the money to teach them now to speak English. You know, whatever programs we need to run, whatever things we need to do, we should do to incorporate them here into the mainstream of our life in America. If they, as one of our callers said the other day, if they want to be Americans, the best way to do that is to learn English. And Gene Simmons, whether you like him or hate him, was correct when he said learning to speak the language are really the keys to the kingdom. You learn to speak English in this country, and you are part of our country.
All right, I don't know what I'm going to read, but it's been emailed to us. It says, learning English is a potentially profitable investment for immigrants in the U.S. While there are initial costs, the subsequent benefit, including the ability to communicate with the majority of the population, potentially leading to better paying jobs and economic success in a new country. These payoffs are lessened if immigrants choose to live and work in ethnic enclaves where the necessity to communicate in English is weak. Ethnic enclaves are widespread and persistent in the U.S. This study that is pasted below in boldface print uses data from the 2010 American Community Survey to examine the impact of residential and occupational segregation on immigrants' ability to speak English. We allow for heterogeneity in the relationship between the segregation and the English language proficiency across ethnic groups and focus specifically on Mexican and Chinese immigrants. And then the words. Our results show that immigrants of the U.S. who live and work among high concentrations of their countrymen are less likely to be proficient in English than those who are less residentially and occupationally segregated. The magnitude of the effect of segregation on language proficiency varies across immigrants' birthplaces and other salient characteristics defining the immigrant context. Okay.
Immigration context.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I did okay.
You did very well up until that last, right to the last
two
words.
And I totally hacked through them. So, okay, so the point that I think I was trying to make that day, and I'll reiterate it very briefly, is I think it is a myth that there is an influx of immigrants who don't want to learn English. What you are telling me is just the opposite, that there are, in fact, a larger number, millions more today, of people who live in the U.S. who do not speak English and have no interest in learning English.
They're apparently not.
Okay.
If they were learning, those numbers wouldn't be growing exponentially, because some of them some of that large influx in the terms of number of population would have picked up English, and so they wouldn't be counted on the part of the number that reflects the use of another language at home. They would have learned. They would have become English speakers. And I think that letter that you just read is correct. I mean, if you live in an enclave, you don't have the
There's
necessity.
no pressure.
Right, there's no pressure.
Well, incentive was your whole bottom line
Right.
on Tuesday.
Well, I think the incentive, I think it's right. You get better jobs. You have a chance for better jobs. You know, if you can make yourself understood and people can communicate with you, you're going to do much better in the country. It's like, I use the argument, if I went to Scandinavia, whatever language they speak in Sweden or somewhere over there, if I don't learn to read the signs, Swedish, okay, if I don't know how to read the signs, I could be in trouble. You know, there's a lot of things you need to speak and you need to learn and you need to read and able to survive in any country. And I think that's true here as well as everywhere else. Why should we learn 5 different languages or 7 different languages, make it hard for us to compete? Should I learn, if 97% of the people in the country or 90% speak English, does it make more sense for the 10% who don't to learn to speak English, or the 90% of us who do to speak another language?
Should we require immigrants coming into the U.S. illegally to learn English?
Sure. I think we should. And I think we should make it possible for them to learn by providing the training and the incentive. The incentive, I think, comes from better jobs, better paying jobs, and the chance to assimilate into our culture. But, I mean, if you don't ever learn to speak the language, will you ever assimilate into the United States? We're a melting pot, but that implies we take disparate groups and we blend them together. Well, part of that blending is that they all learn to speak English and we all have the same communal values. You know, you put one thing into the pot that doesn't melt, then you no longer have a melting pot, right?
All right, 1-800-795-9565 is our telephone number. 1-800-795-9565. Some folks say the U.S. is a melting pot. Others say it's a chef's salad bowl with a mix of many, many separate and non-blendified items. It's not a basmatic. It's a salad bowl. So we invite you to weigh in on this. 1-800-795-9565 is my telephone number. I had said
Do I have my own?
Did I say my telephone?
Yes, you did. I mean, can I have my own phone
yeah,
number?
Call
too?
my cell phone at 1-800-795-9565, and I'll put you on the air. Dave, you are on the line. Thank you so much for calling in.
Good morning. One of the things there the other day also, the discussion about this was incentive. But back on March 28th of 2013, our president signed an executive order that as far as voting, there should be someone to translate so that non-English speakers can still be able to vote, people that can't speak or read English. And so, you know, it goes back to Joe's thing about what's the incentive to learn English. You know, when our government and the president is going to sign an order that someone's going to have to be there to interpret the ballot box.
Yeah, you're right.
What is the, and Dave, just guess on this, or maybe you know the precise number, what's the percentage of individuals who have no interest in learning English in the U.S.? Is it that 7% figure?
I haven't looked that up, but I've been in different factories. Like you go over towards Hazelton, and one of the factories over there, like XL Food, of the several hundred people that work there, there's only 3 or 4 people that speak English in that whole factory.
Well, I know one of the local plants around here that employs hundreds of people encouraged and incentivized the learning of Spanish by their managers. For them, Spanish was the second language, but they said rather than speak to literally hundreds of people here who don't speak English, I will offer English as a second language classes to them, but I will also teach my managers Spanish.
Look, here's the best argument for the incentive issue.
Thank you, David.
Laredo, Texas has the largest percentage of residents who speak a language other than English at home, 92.1%. So what is their incentive to learn to speak English? They're here in this country. They're living among most of their countrymen are people who came from a similar language background as them.
Well, there's a difference between having no incentive to learn English and speaking Spanish at home.
Well, would you say that 92.1% of the people who live in Laredo, Texas, if they were motivated to learn to speak English, that number might be lower?
I don't know. I think if I had a native language, I probably would speak that at home, but when I was in public, I'll bet a vast majority of them know enough English to get along and are in the process of learning more.
Well, Texas is the state with the largest percentage of the population speaking English not at all. This is how the Census Bureau...
Okay, start over.
All right. Texas is the state with the largest percentage of the population speaking English, quote, not at all. That's from the Census Bureau survey, 8.9%. So 9% of people in Texas don't speak any English. Now, don't you think that's a rather large number?
Well, overall, I think it's a sliver, but it's a disturbing number nonetheless. That's a big sliver of people who don't speak English at all.
Now,
so
if you go to Montana, that's the lowest in the country. 0.4% don't speak English.
I pity the fool who don't speak English in Montana.
So a busload of people going from Laredo, Texas to Montana would not do very well.
No, I think
they would not be understood.
They would probably turn the bus around if I'm thinking of the Montanan that I know, who's kind of a redneck cowboy guy.
Well, okay. Well, they speak English in Montana. You know, the
I'm aware. He does too.
The whole point is that there are good, solid benefits. Can you think of any benefit to not speaking English in this country? Any benefit?
Well,
anything that makes it better
other than the fact that you've come from another country, most likely, and are still enriched by the fact that your strong heritage allows you to bask in the fact that you have a language.
If you have
I
a
think
strong heritage,
that's good for you. I think everybody has some assets to them, whether I can enumerate them or
if
not.
you had a strong heritage, why did you come here? If your heritage is that important to you, why are you here?
Land of opportunity comes to
Not
mind.
if you don't speak the language, it isn't.
I would disagree with that. I think there's plenty of Spanish-speaking individuals who are gainfully employed and are glad that they have a job in the U.S., so whether it is in a service-related industry or a startup or doing something else in the U.S.
You know any CEOs who don't speak the language?
Not yet. Dave, thanks for calling back. I believe I must have chopped you off too soon, so my apologies there.
Not a problem. No, that's okay. Joe brought up another thing about there with the Spanish language in Texas. The deal down there, we're just firing the school superintendent, principal, because she wanted the students to speak English in school. You know, so there's another one of your incentive deals that, you know, okay, if we're going to hire, you know, we have a superintendent in America, in a state of Texas, that wants her students to speak English because they're in America, and she gets fired because they don't want to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, so what's going to happen now? You know, okay, we get enough Spanish-speaking people, say, in Northumberland, that all of a sudden the Stevens Grove, Northumberland, whatever schools are going to have to teach their students in Spanish. Would your feelings still be the same about all that?
Well, that's a good question. We'll put that out to the audience, Dave. Reiterate the question, shorten it up, and place it. Start out with the word audience.
Okay. In Texas, they fired a school superintendent because she wanted to teach the students to speak English in school, and so they fired her. Now, if we did the same thing in Northumberland, that the students wanted to speak Spanish and didn't want to speak English anymore, would that be tolerated that the schools speak Spanish in Northumberland?
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Dave. Very much appreciated that. Yep, appreciate it. 1-800-795-9565. We will take another quick break after one word from Kevin.
Fact-checking Mark Lawrence, Scandinavian. They speak Danish, Swedish, Norwegian, and also Icelandic.
Oh, yeah.
In that order?
I don't know if it's in that order or not. It's but different parts of Scandinavia speak different
language. So what are they again? Danish?
Yes. There's Danish, Swedish, some Norwegian, and Icelandic.
No kidding.
I'm not sure what the differences are with those, but there you have it.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Lawrence is once again fact-checked out of the room.
Well, it's kind of like Canada. They speak English and French.
Right.
So what I'm sensing, Kevin, is that if I'm going to make up stuff, it's not going to be easy for me anymore.
No.
We have ways around you.
Exactly. As my wife said the other day, what did we do? How did we figure out anything before we had the internet on our phones?
Well, you would have an encyclopedia or a dictionary there.
We guessed, and people believed it.
Well, it took you forever to look something up in the encyclopedia because you had to enter exactly the word you wanted or look up the word you wanted.
We used to have a
The internet will give you a range of things that might be in the area you're interested in.
We used to have encyclopedias in the building. 1-800-795-9565. Another quick break. We'll take a quick respite, but we honestly would just love to hear from you. We're back on the English language topic. We have some other emails pending with other topics, so we'll sift through those, but we would invite you to call us or write in now. You can hit the Lenape Solar email in basket by sending a note to onthemark@WKOK.com. You can call us 1-800-795-9565. That's 1-800-795-9565. Our main sponsor is, I'm very glad to say, the Sunbury Motor Company.
While looking for a vehicle, you know that if it sounds too good to be true, chances are it is too good to be true. You get the runaround, got to go from place to place. Well, you can just skip all of that and go straight to Sunbury Motor Company. Sunbury Motor Company has been satisfying more customers and selling more cars since 1915, so you know they've got it right. No offers that look good on paper or online, and then you get disappointed when you see them in person. Sunbury Motor Company offers a lineup few other auto dealers in the area can compete with. With the inventory of Ford, Hyundai, Kia, and Lincoln vehicles, there will be no problem finding the right vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. And the friendly, knowledgeable staff's ready and able to help you with everything from the test drive to the drive off the lot. See for yourself at Sunbury Motors. Sunbury Motors, Ford, Lincoln, Hyundai in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury. And Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Look for them online anytime at sunburymotors.com.
Wherever you are right now, right this moment, you've never been closer to saving a child. Every minute, malaria claims another life. But donating just $1 provides a life-saving test and treatment for one child in Africa. $1 given, one child saved. We have the tools to ensure no child dies from a mosquito bite. $1 at a time, one child at a time. That's the power of one. Save a life now by donating $1 at peel1.org.
By 2025, it's estimated that half the world's population will lack access to safe drinking water. A sorry state of affairs, as 2/3 of our planet is covered by water. We are helping develop solutions for salt water to satisfy the thirst of future generations. BASF, the chemical company.
Susquehanna Valley Country Club has announced their 2015 new member dues schedule. Enroll by August 31st and become a member immediately. All you need to pay monthly is your food and beverage minimum through this December. Your dues begin January 2015. Dues rates are as low as $25 per month for a social membership and $100 per month for golf memberships. Find out online how you can win a new driver, putter, or a $100 food certificate to their grill room at the end of the month. Be part of the new Susquehanna Valley Country Club. Visit golfsvcc.com or call 570-743-1714 for an appointment.
Bailando, bailando, ese fuego por dentro me va enloqueciendo, me va saturando.
Say what? I caught tequila in there somewhere.
Is the Laredo, Texas Men's Choir, 1-800-795-9565. 1-800.
Mark, you have a sense of humor after all.
Singing at home.
Right.
Okay. Only a tiny sliver don't know any English.
You are correct, though, Joe. Tequila was one of the words that Enrique Iglesias said there. Really well done.
I heard it. Thank you.
All right. Oh, is that who that was? I thought it was Rico Suave. I was going to guess wrong.
No, it's Enrique Iglesias and, let's see, Deceimer, Bieno. I have no idea.
You don't speak Spanish at all?
No, I took extra English,
you
and it
should
still
know what
hasn't
Iglesias is. Church.
Cindy, you are on the mark.
Hola, muchachos. ¿Cómo
Hey,
está?
buenos días. ¿Cómo está?
¿Cómo está? Muy bien, gracias. ¿Y
Guten
usted?
Morgen.
Bien, bien.
Oh, very good.
Guten
Okay.
Morgen.
Obviously, the federal government sees this failure to acquire competent English as a problem because they've put forward a lot of regulations and laws placing rules on local entities, on government, on social services to be prepared to provide services in non-English language. For example, if you're a non-English speaking person and you're arrested here, we, the taxpayers, have to provide you with a translator for your court
appearances.
case.
Yeah.
If you, and this is one that, well, let me just say this. Every child in public education, by federal mandate, must be screened for whether or not English is their primary language and whether or not it's the language at their home and whether or not their parents are competent in English. Should their parents not be competent in English, the taxpayers are required to provide a translator whenever the school sits down to meet with the parents. So if it were not an issue, then why would the federal government be putting out these rules? But the one that's most confusing to me is this. They have required some regions where there's a high level of non-English speaking people or low competence people, they provide a ballot in that other language. Now, here's what's confusing to me about it. As I understand obtaining citizenship when you come to this country, you must be able to speak English. And I've read that citizenship test, and you couldn't possibly take that test and pass it if you couldn't speak English. It's not simple questions. It's not, even though it's multiple guess, it's not, the questions are to command a certain level of English competence. So if they are citizens, which you must be to vote, then why, that says then they must be competent, and then why is the federal government requiring these ballots be printed in other languages? And that the directions for voting be provided in communities in multiple languages?
That gives them no incentive to participate in our society.
Well, what I'm saying is, obviously the federal government sees that this is an issue. I would define it as a problem, that there are growing numbers of non-English speakers, and they're not changing their behavior adequately. And so the system, that would be us, is changing our behavior to meet their needs.
Right. It's going to cost all of us more money to accommodate them when all they have to do is learn to speak our language, and then they don't need the accommodation.
And we do fund, across the country, we do fund English language courses. The taxpayers pay for it for people who want to learn how to speak English. And personally, I think that that should be the cost of the individual. If I want to learn to drive, I pay for the driving course. You could argue that in the greater interest of society, society should pay for it. But I think we've exhausted our capacity to solve everyone's problems with the economics that we have available. So I think that I'm fine with immigrants coming to this country. They don't even need to be competent in English. However, it should be on them to pay for their courses to learn how to speak English, not me.
Well, the difference between us is I would pay for their courses because I think if we've let them in, if they're part of our country, it's important for us that they do assimilate. And if we have to spend a little extra money, I think in the long run we save money by having them assimilate rather than having to make all these other accommodations. Just my personal thought.
Well, it would also help, Joe, if everyone owned a car, but we're not approaching transportation from the we will buy everyone a car theory, right?
Well, Sunbury Motors would be happy to work on that for you.
Anyway, I just thought I'd share this. There are lots of examples. I've only given a few where the federal government is putting out these mandates requiring that local entities, school districts, even businesses provide information in multiple languages. So I think there are challenges in our country with this issue.
Amen, Cindy.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks
Cindy.
for calling.
Appreciate it. Tan sends us a note, says, I remain convinced that any immigrant who wishes to be part of the society needs to learn English. However, the enclaves that you talk about are a different story. In this area, you'll find many of the immigrants who came from the Middle European area still speak their native language at home. They seem to be happy and successful people, says Than. And another listener, one of the smartest women in the...
Well, we don't have time for the smartest women in the world.
And time.
Than will have to read that tomorrow. Than and Ben will be on the show tomorrow. I will be down telling vendors where to go at Sunbury River Festival.
You do a good job of telling people where to go. You've been telling me that every day since I started doing the program with you.
Thank you very much. Joe McGranaghan, Mayor of Shamokin Dam. Very glad to see you again. We'll see you next Tuesday.
See you
Thank
Tuesday.
you, Kevin. Thank you, everybody, for listening to News Radio 1070 WKOK Sunbury.